She said, "You're treating me like my father and not my boyfriend," when I asked her where she was all night. Finally, at 2:07 a.m., the door creaked open. I was on the edge of our couch, my fists balled up, the television blasting some late-night sitcom I hadn't been watching. I'd phoned Amanda half a dozen times, texted her about a dozen. Each rang once, and then the call went to voicemail. No wishy-washy read receipts, not even a response. Just an ominous silence so dense you could toboggan down the minutes fearing the worst. And then the door opened. She came in looking astonished to see me up. She blinked heels in hand, makeup smudged, her hair as tousled as if she'd just come from something exponentially more intimate than a networking dinner, which she said was what she'd been doing. "Oh," she said, throwing her purse on the entry table. "You're still up?" Her tone stung. No worry, no apology, not even a pretense of concern. Raising up, my sweet, sweet voice was rusty too. "Where have you been, Amanda?" "Who cares?" She sighed, as if I'd just asked her to explain quantum mechanics. "I told you earlier, out with friends. We went for drinks afterwards. A little late, that's all." I mustered her face and immediately looked up into her eyes, trying to find holes in the lie. I couldn't smell alcohol. But then there was something else. A faint odor near her neck. Not her perfume. A cologne. "I called you. A lot." "My cell phone died," she replied, reflexively draping her coat over the chair. I took a step nearer, but I couldn't have exhaled less helplessly. "I was worried. It's 2 a.m. You could have least texted while it was dying. Of course, if that's where you were at, you know, could have just told me where you were or who you were with." Her expression changed, annoyed now. She crossed her arms. "God, Ethan, why do you have to ruin everything?" "Do what?" "Interrogate me. Hover over me like a parent. You sound like my father and not like my boyfriend." That line hit me in the chest, like a sucker punch. The air went out of my lungs, and for a second, the half of the room went away, and I was sort of floating outside myself. I began speaking, but didn't say anything. I just stared at her. Amanda, my 4-year woman, my person I had every intention of spending and building a life with, was now staring me in the face like I was some jerk-off, some chore she had to get through. For years and years after the breakup, well past the time I knew the truth, that sentence echoed in my head. That night, the die was cast. It wasn't always like this. Amanda and I had known each other in college. She'd been a design major, a cyclonic tempest of wild creativity, and I had been finance, relatively quiet and cautious. She used to tell me that I was the calm to her storm. "I am very grounded, and I ground her," she said. I assisted her to focus. She assisted me to feel. We were joined at the hip in the beginning. We stayed up until 3 a.m. on school nights with indie films, road-tripped on weekends, once hatched a joint business venture, a scheme that never took itself off her sketchpad. We moved in together 2 years after I graduated. I had a steady job in accounting, and she was freelancing as a designer, busy building her personal brand. I paid most of the bills, she chased passion projects, and accepted the rare commission. It never bothered me. I believed in her. But slowly things changed. She started spending more time out, first for work meetings, then brand parties, then girls' nights that edged into the morning hours on days she didn't come home at all. She started dressing differently, too, flashier, edgier. At first I dismissed it as a phase, her period of self-discovery. Then came the gym membership. Amanda had never been interested in fitness, but was now fitness-crazed. 5 days a week, sometimes twice a day. Fresh clothes, fresh kicks, and, most importantly, a personal trainer named Zane. Zane. I would soon come to rue that title. She mentioned him casually at first, his motivation, how amazing were his results. I tried not to think about it, but it made me uncomfortable every time she brought it up. There had been the nights when she came back to the apartment from the gym too fresh, too radiant, as if she'd come away with something other than a workout. Then I found a receipt in her coat pocket, and things changed. It was for dinner. Expensive seafood, a bottle of wine, 2 entrees, a single red rose. I confronted her, and I just prayed, hoped that there might be some innocent explanation. She shrugged. It was with a potential client. I'm trying to network more. It was such a smooth, polished lie that I found myself believing her for a moment. But something inside me was screaming that there was something amiss. Then I started to observe the little things. It was attached to her ears, but she never allowed me to use it. Her passwords changed. Her habits shifted. She stopped initiating physical affection. She could not look at me. And then things got worse because she started to emotionally detach. One night, she returned home at 3 a.m., claiming to have been doing a branding event. I'd been trying to sleep, contending with hands that wouldn't stop shaking, head that wouldn't stop spinning. The burden of lying was getting too damn heavy. That night, I asked again, "Where were you? Who were you with?" Her eyes narrowed. "Oh, for crying out loud, would you quit it already?" "Just tell me the truth." God, Ethan. Why in the world do you think you need to know what I'm doing every single second of every single day? Taking care of me is love? You're obsessed with control. I don't want to pressure you, I said, trying to remain calm. I'm trying to see why you'd never want to be here. Why I feel like a ghost in my own relationship. And then she said it again. You're not my boyfriend, you're my father. That night I left. And I didn't sleep. But that sentence just would not leave my head, even louder than any scream. I began digging, quietly. I didn't want to be paranoid, but I wanted to know. I knew her gym schedule. Then I got off of work early one day and parked across the street from the place. Zane was leaving with her at 8:40 p.m. I saw her. She wasn't in gym clothes. She'd been strutting in a very tight black dress. They walked to his car. He opened the door for her. They kissed. Not on the cheek. Not a friendly hug. A kiss. I felt my chest collapse. I didn't confront them. I just drove home and waited. When she returned, I was sitting at the kitchen table. "How was your workout?" I asked, my voice hollow. She froze, keys in hand. "I saw you," I continued, "with Zane, outside the gym." Her face did a double take and then turned to ice. "So this is where you're spying on me, huh? Don't twist this. Just tell me the truth." At first, she did not speak, just stared at the ground. And then, after a long silence, she looked up. "Fine. Yes. I've been seeing him." My instinct was, I can't breathe. "For how long?" "A few months." "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why did you do that to me?" She didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. "Because you stopped being exciting. You don't get it. I needed something more. Zane makes me feel alive. I just feel suffocated." "Trapped?" It's every word a knife. You plan everything. You micromanage. So the meantime would be those times always informing where I'm at, always worried about me. You don't trust me. Because you did not give me one to not do it. I was drowning, Ethan. You were loving me to death. That's when I realized she wasn't just cheating. She hadn't been in love in a really long time. I packed a bag that night. She didn't ask me to stay. She didn't try to stop me. So I walked out of the apartment that we had worked so hard to turn into a home. I walked away from the woman that I was convinced I was going to marry. I walked into the unknown. The following months were hell. I stayed with my brother. I barely ate. I stopped talking to friends. Everything about me was gone. I was just obsessing about everything, the ways in which I did things wrong, what I could have done to do it right, what I didn't see. Amanda tried to contact me. She sent messages, voicemails. She said she was sorry, that she had made a mistake, that she missed me. I didn't answer. A few weeks later, I found her on Instagram. She had sent pictures to Zane, smiling, holding hands. 1 month later, those images had vanished. Then came the cryptic quotes. Then silence. And then one day, nearly a year later, I heard from her. "Hey, I heard you're doing well. Just wanted to say, I'm happy for you. Truly. Every day I'm regretting what I did. You were always good to me. I wasn't ready to be loved the way you loved me." I stared at it for a while. Then I deleted it. Not out of anger. But that was because I had walked away. I had found peace, found myself again, found love that was quiet and true and tender. Amanda once told me I treated her like a dad in the midst of just such a ruptured time. But I understand it now. I was not smothering her. I was struggling to preserve what we had. She hadn't wanted it, is all. And now I have someone who likes me protecting him, understands the difference between controlling and caring. The one who knows love does not behave as if she were free to act however she pleases. She knows love resides in the other's very existence. And for that, I'm grateful. For losing her was the single worst thing that has ever happened to me, the most real and unreal thing at the same time. But it was also the preface to everything that is good. The end